Hi everybody, I wanted to give you some quick video feedback. If you like, go ahead and watch everybody's. It will really help you see all the options. I never see the same site twice, so you might enjoy that. I'm going to jump right in and look at these as a first-time site visitor, all right? Even if I've glanced at them or looked at them, I'm just going to go through, see how they function, give you the tips that you'll need, and you'll want to write down those revisions that you are given so that you can implement them in this upcoming week, all right? These, you can also look at the YouTube script, the transcription if you want, if that helps. But that's what you want to do as you're going through these because you will need that feedback, all right? You'll be submitting a bulleted list. All right, the first thing I like to do, and I've already done it, but I like to check and make sure that I am looking at everything in the actual size. And you want to make sure that you're working in the actual size because otherwise you may find that it's not the right size on the browser for other people. And so oftentimes students will work at 80 to 90%, but I view it at 100%. And things are off screen. So always make sure you're doing that, right? All right, so first up, beautiful color. I like that, easy to read. When we have more than three or four lines, you want to view it as a paragraph text. So probably left aligning this welcome would be fine. And we don't always have to have a welcome. We just have to make sure our page is welcoming, if you remember from some of your lessons. I don't know that the gallery is needed here, but that's okay. We do need to rename the files. These are what are given to you, it's true, but you want to change them. It won't need to say close up, and this is why. It's also something that will be picked up in screen readers for accessibility, and it's also something that browsers, search engines will go through. Okay. All right. So everything is here. A little deep on the footer, but it's all right because there's still room for everything else. Probably could go larger on the navigation. Definitely move Contact Us to the end. That's just a web standard. It's where people are used to finding it. And we don't want people to have to work at things when they come to our site. Okay. This could probably be 2 rows. Two columns, I believe. Okay. And while it's not necessary here, some of you, if you want to split Monday and Wednesday, put those together, and Tuesday and Thursday together, they're the same location if you need that space. Like I said, not necessary here. When I see a drop menu, we want to be careful there's not too much clicking and scrolling or that it is covering up content. It's not covering up anything on this page. I'm not sure as we move forward if that will be the case, but it's all right that we have it split. It reduces the scrolling, I think. Okay. And I think you may have one that is all there. Okay, this probably, looking through, I think this font could be a little bigger. There is an app, it's an extension, a Chrome extension called What Font, and it allows you to go to any Chrome and see what the point size is. We want to stay at 16 points for online, okay, and that can be different depending on the font. Some font is just naturally a little smaller, some is larger. So let's aim for about 16 points or pixels, same thing. All right. So far, this isn't covering up content that I can see the drop down. Okay. And this is a little bigger here. All right. So mainly is moving the Contact Us to the end, making sure we're not clipping a client logo. That's a big deal. for our client. And yeah, it looks like just the right amount of content. May need to be slightly bigger. If that's all bolded, let's see if that's the case. No. Okay, so this is 15. It's very close. Looks similar. All right. And we want to see how your buttons are working. Good job. Yeah, so everything is functioning. We're not responsible for or you're not responsible for the mobile version this month, but you will be when you get to web design. But otherwise, not a lot of corrections here. Okay, enlarge this a little, move this definitely to the right, clear that, and rename your files for sure. Okay, and look at your point size. All right, terrific job, great start. Let's look at another one. Again, I'm going to check and make sure this is the actual size. The font's a little small here for sure. You do have the contact in the right place. This may be a little bit long. I'm not sure that's what somebody would search, and your navigation is actually a place where search engines will crawl for information. So unless someone is typing where you can find us, this isn't going to come up. If you put locations or something like that, that might be something that they actually look for. Okay. Not a huge deal here, but as a rule, it's really great to have these aligned. So having the same number of rows everywhere is something that you want to look for in the future, okay, when you're building a site. Okay. These are linked up. Very good. And that is something I'm not sure I looked at specifically. The contact. Yeah, you would go ahead and probably just put the icons here. Okay, that would probably be best for you. A form is good. I don't think we require it this month. Okay. Okay. Little small on the font. This would be a place where you could combine Monday and Wednesday, Tuesday and Thursday. Of is usually a word that doesn't have a capital. Okay. It's laid out nicely, easy to read. I think if you could get these, this is centered. I don't know. Maybe you can't. It's not a deal breaker, but it might look good if both of these were similar or at least centered with this. It's feeling a little uncentered, but it's not a big issue. Not something you have to change. Make sure you include images everywhere that has a placeholder. This is a little hard to read. I think you're going to need a bolder color here. Something a little darker to increase the contrast. It could be that these are still loading, which would mean that the images are too big. Do make sure that if you are including photos that they don't have glassware, because a food truck isn't likely to have that. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Yeah, a little hard to read in contrast. Okay. Okay, so we wouldn't need this, so we could bring that up to here, and that would work well. Left align. Let's make the font a little bigger, just a little darker. And definitely left align paragraph text. So right amount of space of lines, just we want to bring that up. We have so much heading up here that we are required to scroll a little bit. So I'm not sure you need quite as deep a header. We're having to scroll to get to the information. So this is more of what you want to land on. So you don't need this. Contact, maybe. Okay. All right. I like the shapes that you're using. I love that you have plenty of space. It's important to have it be equal when you're working with a client, but this page is looking really nice and clean. This is a good text. Okay. All right. Great start. And let's see, TSP. I think that probably needs to come off. Okay. If you have the logo placed in the header, it will be on every page, and then you won't have to include it. These don't have to have, their own section. You can move these around, have it one here or there if you wanted to, and you don't have to use them all. I know that's something that a client you would have to get approval for, but I'm saying you don't have to. And so it would be better if you removed one of these and brought these up to where it's not quite so deep, and that they're exactly the same size and font style. Okay. Let's remove any tiling, and let's update the copyright year. Okay. Make everything the same size, font, same size, same style. So this is a sans serif because it has these swirls and strokes on the end of the letters, but we want to, I think, use a sans serif, and it does not. We want to avoid glassware. They might sell something bottled like that. That's probably acceptable. Do take this out, that strip, the background. Change it to white. This probably could be maybe one image, a little larger. So we close up a little bit of that space here. Okay. You do want to have a menu button up here that links, and that means you're going to have to go into your editor, into your home page, and add an anchor, add a link, and name it that. You have to put it under your home page. Well, you do, because you're going to have to find wherever you had your menu. So that's kind of an issue. Here's your menu page. Okay, this needs to be moved up here. That's what needs to happen. Okay, take this and drag it out in your pages and menus in your editor. Okay, take this out. Try not to have a break here, so either make that here or reduce it just enough to get this on that line. A little bit of space under here. Move the day closer to the actual location and put some space in between the days. Move Contact Us to the end for sure. Link up your social icons. This will be removed. And you will bring this up when you take this out. About Us, again, you're going to want to bring it up here. Add that period here. Your given text that doesn't have it, so that you can catch that. If you use a grammar check, you will find it. Yeah, I recommend watch your spacing. So you want some space above your headers and be consistent with that. go ahead and move your logo into your header up here so that it just shows up every page. All right. And then move these important pages up here, move that to the right. All right, great start. Okay, let's see what we have here. Make sure I'm looking at this in the actual view. Okay. Again, I would move this. This is okay, but you may want to move it into the header. We'll see. It's not that it isn't working there. Okay, you've linked up. You have an about us. Is that the most important thing to have here? Locations might be more important. Okay. Now, if I click this, this is where we have to make the biggest adjustment. And that is, we need to have navigation that is accessible from every page. Okay, so in order for me to get to the menu now, I have to go back. And I know you had to restart this, Candace. I'm sorry we didn't have a chance to look at this. I know I said we would the other night. And we ended before that. I know that you were continuing to regain your site and everything that you had created. Make sure you update this. Your name is going to go down here. Okay. Instead of snappily. Okay, so definitely get your navigation up there. And what you have there currently is just taking up a lot of space as well. Okay, this page is working pretty good. You want to check for details, but I like the way you have it separated. Make sure you have the same space between your lines of your heading and things like that. Those are details. But yeah, nice. These are well laid out. Again, I have to go back to. Okay. I like the way this feels. I like it, and I can read it. Yeah, I kind of want to see a higher contrast. This is working well. I don't usually like to see all caps. I'm sorry, all bolded. But it is easy to read. I do like the way this page is laid out. I do. Your design is working very well. It's really just the navigation and this page taking up this space for navigation. This one doesn't seem to be linked. Okay, so the about story, it's laid out nicely as well. I like that your headers match. The spacing isn't the same. It doesn't bother me so much, but those are things to notice. And so this can be brought down here. So this would be your footer, and it just wouldn't be so deep. Okay, so this would move to the center with your name, and this would be smaller somewhere down here, all right? But you really have a solid start. Just a couple of tweaks, really. It seems like a lot, but once you do them, it's going to be coming together. All right, so this I can see needs perhaps a location, navigation here, and the contact at the end. I'd make this a little bit bigger. Other than that, this page is easy. You may not need this quite as deep. These will be linked up. If you have these someplace else, then you will take those off. You may not need all of this there. You may want it a little higher up, this information. Not a deal breaker, but these do need to be linked up or removed if you have them someplace else. Okay, this particular template has this line. It really would be better without it. It moves depending, on where you are. So if you can remove that, that would be an asset to you. You can edit this down. Like I said, you would have to contact a client to ask if you could make these kinds of edits, but this is for you. So go ahead and make the cuts that you need in the ingredients or the title to make things line up. Okay, so this could simply be tortilla and salsa, or whatever you want to say, blue chips and salsa, so that we get that dip either brought up or removed. Okay. Might be able to bring this up just a little, so a little less scrolling. Okay, good. I'm trying not to have one word on a line. Okay. Glassware. Remember, it's a food truck. If it's images of them preparing something, that's a little easier. Okay. This is great. This is good. Okay, so just keep in mind it's a food truck, and I have seen some that get pretty fancy on their photos, but this is just a challenge for you to be sure that it says food truck. Okay, so this is your gallery. If we open it up, sometimes they have words appear. This doesn't. Left align all of this. Make sure it's at least 16 points. That's where you're going to link up, add your contact, and your locations. Okay, so you've got a great start. You just need to spend a little more time, and I think that will come together for you. You've learned a lot. Everybody has really been able to get up to speed, and you'll find that was what you did the first couple of weeks. Week 3, you were working on your site, where you're not as much organizing and designing someone else's content that is given to you in a folder. That's what your client will give you, hopefully, and you'll know what to ask for. But right now, for Rdtaco, you were learning how to navigate in the application. It's not a hard one, but it just takes a little time. And now you've got your feet wet with that, and you're going to be able to come up with your own content. So it's kind of a swap as far as a switch, as far as what your focus is. And of course, in both cases, creating websites. All right, let's see. Lots of images. Try to avoid images over images. It slows the site down and can be hard to read. There may be a reason you did it, but be mindful of that. Okay. Okay. Easy font to read. We switch up here. Okay, that's the same. Okay, let's remove that. If you want to find an image of a couple, that's always successful. In stock image. Or you can shorten this scrolling and make the column wider. This, I think maybe if you use something with a transparent background, you might like that. Okay. I think combining would be good for you because we have a little bit of a little bit going on, and we got variety of text font styles. So that's something that you want to definitely look at. Okay. I want to go back home, check out this link. Okay. Yeah, I feel like an image or two is needed on this page for sure. Make sure the font is at least 16 point, and I know some templates come that way. Let's remove that. Okay. I do like that you've made it clear where divided your information. This is a bit of a change, so even if we are talking about something else, we're talking about news versus summer recipes, it needs to match the page. Okay, it's not fitting the line space, right? The line space here. Go through and double check the spacing on everything when you entered it, right? It didn't catch everything and provide all the spaces that you need. So check that throughout, and make your links live that open in a new window. Okay. Yeah. Close that space. Let's see. Check your headers. You want them to be the same font. And I think this is probably this, but I think you need to go closer to a sans serif, I think, here. Okay, so yeah, a little bit more time. You know, it's like I say, it's not difficult. It does take setting a little bit of time aside just to avoid stress. All right, this is a great start. Okay, and we have the food truck. We looked at this and discussed how this would not be glass. So I know that's going to change. Let's look at, these probably do need to be combined. There's some spacing that needs to be kept included there. Let's take out the login and let's move this up here. And like I said, we were in a session this week where we talked about some of those changes. Great shot here. This a little hard to read. Again, that's going to move and not need to be there. Probably don't need this. We could probably reduce this image so it's not so deep, requiring so much scrolling. And this is also a great shot. This probably needs to be the client's color instead of purple and yellow. It's a difficult template because of that. It has those colors that are very different. Remove that. Sans serif here. And you just want your links to be set up here, so remove that. And I think we talked about creating a contact page. Okay. Changing this to contact and then turning that into your contact page down here. Making sure everything is linked to the right place. Okay, so you'll take this out and this won't be there. And so you might be able to put a title here that says contact and simplify that a little bit. Okay, the navigation is disappearing. In this case, it seems like we have gone to another page. And so we need to have that navigation on each page. One way to do that, if you want to make that horizontal, then it will be present on every page. Even if you don't put that on every page, We need to freeze this to where it scrolls with everything. Okay, so we're not coming up here to get to the content and then back up. Okay, we want to remove that background that came with the template of the food trucks. You can select background and select white. That might remove it for you. We want to make sure that we center everything here. Really hard to read this, and I know it's the font, but you may have to change it to something, a sans serif that's easier to read. That's what I recommend. Your client will appreciate that. This image is too large. You can see the resolution isn't there. Very pixelated. Okay. But main thing too, the menu. You can remove this, and that will bring that up a little more. You can change the template where this is wider and not have quite so much scrolling also. Okay. All right, so a little bit of time needed on this still, but you've got some good start, a good start on many of these different sections, all right? Okay, always like this image. You know, it is glass, something to think about. Let's see, a little hard to read the navigation, so you'll need a color other than the gray. White might work for you, but you can play with that. This is scrolling we probably don't need, but that's okay. It's just this isn't a lot of important information. And so I know we have the menu here. Try to avoid ovals where you can. They don't usually work out very well, especially when you go to repeat them. They're not usually the same size. You would want some space around it so this rule would not butt up to that. But I like the green, and I like what you have there. It's just oval frames rarely work. Sometimes they will, but as a rule, they're not the best go-to. This would be a little bigger, the hour menu. Okay. Okay, so this is a picture of words. You'll need to enter that text. It can go off if we have it here. Okay. All right. Anything that is strictly the template, you may want to remove because people will have seen it, and you want it to be your own design. Okay. All right. We'll look at the next one. Start at home. All right. Make sure this is a great start. Let's make sure that we remove the login and search. That's for everybody. It's just not necessary for a site this size, and we can get more room. So let's enlarge the navigation. And let's see, this is important information. So we want to make sure that, and remove this, that's template. We want to make sure that the important information gets priority, that it's very easy to read. I like how you have the testimonials because they're just sort of secondary, but they're there if somebody wants them. Images, if we're going to list placeholders, then we need to actually have those images inserted. The descriptions need to be there. And okay, so this is placeholder text. You want to probably not have an online menu. It's not required and it takes up time. I like where you're going with this, but there just wasn't enough time to populate all of it correctly. Okay, this is again placeholder. So these images are recognizable because they're template, and that's why we say remove them. Okay, go ahead and put tacos or anything like that. Remove that. And this is template. So remove that page, or populate it for sure. Interesting. That would be A instead of an. And I think rather than have read more here, I think we want that visible. To separate these, you could bold the days of the week, but I think we need to have the schedule at least begun here. That's the important part. All of this other is not as important as this, and yet we're not getting it when we land on the page, all right? So you'll want to do that. This is placeholder. Let's remove that. This really isn't relevant to the taco truck, so let's replace that or remove it. And again, this is important information. We want to move that up here. All right, and yeah, make that larger, bring some things up. But you just need, I would say if you do exactly just the updates, you're going to have maybe 4 or 5 hours on that. Less if you're lucky, but yeah, you're going to need to at least go through and remove all the template placeholders. All right, again, this is the tougher template. I do let you know that when you select this one. It's because it's for a hamburger truck and the colors are completely different. So everything has to be modified. Let's remove this. A little space under that. Period here, probably cut this down a little bit. Make the font something that goes a little better. I think a sans serif is easier to read. Let's see. Okay, let's call this news instead of blog, and we'll make sure it links straight up to this. Let's remove that background of the red food trucks. Really hard to read. This is the most important information on this page, but all of this is taking up a lot of space when this is what they want, okay? So make that easier to read. Go ahead and put, instead of the links, go ahead and put the icons. Update to 2022. You do have your links are staying, your navigation is present, that's good. Your testimonials would land right here. You'd probably have a title. I think you could squeeze these in a little bit so there's not so much padding. Padding is usually a good thing, a little too much in this case. Okay. And you want to work on where your anchors are. Because when you select contact, there should be an anchor here in your editor that you can link here. And look in your resources if you're not sure how to create an anchor. so that when you select something in your navigation, it will take you to that top of that page. Okay, good. Yeah, so there's some navigation to look at, and we don't need strips that we don't need, so you can reduce scrolling in that way. A little bit of padding there. This is sort of set off by itself. Maybe a little bit of hierarchy here, so Wednesday's either bolded, a little bit of space between them, consistently, and make sure that everything is centered. Okay, so spending a little time making sure that you're using the colors of the brand, which is going to be that aqua blue. Red and yellow, not so much, right? This background is a little too vague, all right? All right, so a little more time tweaking and making sure that everything is immediate and not a lot of scrolling or clicking. Remove this, all right? All right, so a little more headroom here, and I look forward to seeing this this week. Okay, we can remove this. We don't need them everywhere. We do want them once on the page, and like I say, if you put it up here and you freeze your header, you need it to be a little deeper, so it's at least 1 inch in size, the logo. But if you freeze your header, then it's going to always be there when you scroll, and the navigation will be there. Let's, instead of having this blocked background like that, let's make it a solid. Okay, so let's not have this cut paste look. You would want these to all be the same width, with the same spacing between the columns, and ideally the same depth also. You want them to have the same size font throughout, same style, same size. It's true of this as well. And the way you do that is you find the word that is the longest, whether it's desserts or starters, and you make sure that fits into the shape, and then you just make that shape everywhere. Same size. Make sure you've got the same amount of space above and below, okay? Always have space between content so it doesn't look, we're not overlapping, as that makes it look like an afterthought. Left align the period here. That let's not tile the background with the logo. Really hard to read, so once you remove that, it's going to be easier. Left align all your text.
This is a reminder.
Okay. Good job linking up to the site. Probably need more contrast here. Yeah, be careful with these cut and paste lettering. It just seems like the formatting isn't removed. We have, space here, but not here. This is an interesting color. It's a good color. And you pick up this here again, so that works. Just let's remove the cut and paste lettering, and remember, this is the important part. This is what they're looking for, so it really needs to be clear. Okay. Okay, so not everything is linked. Okay. Okay, the menu is template, so that will have to go. All right, the footer, I'm not finding the footer. A lot of room here. We have to go back to get to the navigation, so that you'll want to work out. And again, you're going to need the copyright information at the bottom, date, your name, things like that. And yeah, you'll want to work at where things are landing. In this case, you might be better off starting over with just separate pages and not a one page. A one page can be harder, okay? Because everything has to land in the right place, and you have to work with anchors and things, and it's not happening right now. Okay, so you've got at least I would say 6 to 7 or 8 hours. You might be able to do it sooner. It might be easier to start over. Take a look at some of the other sites that you've seen on the video, and that might help you. All right, everybody. There have been a lot of great attempts and a lot of great finishes. Everybody has just at least a little bit to work on, but it should be much easier this week. So just set aside a right amount of time, and you should be able to complete it and have a nice polished site. All right, I'm looking forward to seeing these.